Congratulations! You've just been promoted to what your agency calls a delicate mission and what the street translates as, if it goes wrong, you never existed. They tell you with a pat on the back, a new credential, and a smile that doesn't reach the eyes. Nobody congratulates you enthusiastically because nobody congratulates someone who's about to walk on thin ice. The order is simple on paper. Infiltrate the private island of an internationally famous philanthropist. A man who poses with perfect smiles, donates to noble causes, and photographs himself with important people. On television, he's a visionary. In the hallways of the Special Crimes Unit, he's the benefactor. Just like that, with invisible quotation marks. The island doesn't appear in tourist brochures. It appears in rumors. It appears in strange flight itineraries. It appears in catering invoices that don't add up. It appears in party photos where nobody should be that relaxed. And it appears in your hands as a thin dossier because paper holds fewer lies than humans. Your cover, compliance and logistics advisor for charitable events. That means your official job is to make sure invitations, boats, flights, and suppliers meet standards. Your real job is to look behind the curtain without being seen looking. And your secret job, the most important one, is to survive long enough to get something worth a raid. They give you a fake name, a fake biography, a fake LinkedIn with recommendations from people who don't exist, and an expensive suit that itches at the neck as a reminder that you don't belong to that world. They instruct you in the basics. Never ask direct questions, never show surprise. You never drink more than you can handle. Never fall in love with the luxury narrative. Here, luxury is a tool, they tell you, like a knife. It shines, it cuts, and then it's cleaned. You arrive at the coast at a small airport where half the people wear dark glasses even in shade. You're met by a man with a transparent earpiece who doesn't introduce himself because discretion is the official language. They put you on a speedboat. The sea is too beautiful, as if it were also an accomplice. In the distance, the island. Green, impeccable, perfect. A postcard with teeth. At the dock awaits the first filter. It's not security, it's liturgy. They ask for your phone. They ask for your smartwatch. They ask you to turn off anything that thinks. They hand you a house phone with a childish menu of apps, calls, messages, calendar, nothing else. Why, it's for privacy, they tell you. Of course, privacy for them, blindness for you. They escort you along a palm-lined path to the main mansion. The house seems designed by someone who hates modesty. White columns, enormous glass windows, polished stone, and that clean silence of places where people pay not to hear reality. At the entrance, there's an abstract statue that tries to look like art and manages to look like a warning. Here, everything is a symbol and nothing is an accident. They introduce you to the island coordinator. They call him the administrator, as if he were a video game character. He smiles professionally, but his eyes calculate. He welcomes you and reminds you of rule number 1. Here things are kept simple. You didn't see anything we didn't explain to you. He says it in a friendly tone. Like someone offering you water. You smile and nod. Your face is already a mask, and you're wearing the most expensive one you've ever had in your life. The first day, they sell it to you as induction. They show you the normal spaces. Industrial kitchen, bar, living rooms, gym, guest rooms, everything impeccable, everything ready to impress. There's enough staff to operate a 5-star hotel without the hotel existing. The employees move like shadows, silent, efficient, looking at the floor. Nobody looks you in the eye for more than half a second. You notice details that don't fit. Unlabeled doors with biometric readers, hallways that end in cameras, an elevator with an unmarked button. On one wall, a huge painting of a seascape. The frame is too thick. You glance at it and feel the discomfort of being watched by something that's not painted. At the welcome dinner, the host appears. He doesn't enter, he materializes. Light suit, easy smile, soft voice. He speaks as if every word had a lawyer behind it. He shakes your hand and squeezes just enough to remind you who's in charge. I love having competent people here, he says. Competence is a form of affection. You laugh as if it were a joke. He laughs as if he'd won something. Around the table are businessmen, B-list celebrities, retired politicians hungry for relevance, and a couple of tech geniuses who seem not to have slept since 2013. Everyone calls each other friend without being friends. Everyone flatters each other as if flattery were currency. And everyone, absolutely everyone, pretends the island is just a long party with noble donations. The most impressive thing isn't the luxury, it's the collective discipline of the lie. Your work starts with small things. You review guest lists, you coordinate landing schedules, you confirm suppliers. The administrator assigns you an assistant, a kid who speaks little and writes down everything. So you don't get lost, he says. You understand, so you don't stray. The first night, at 2:17, you hear a door closing in the hallway. It's not the sound, it's the precision, as if someone had rehearsed. You get up, approach, barely open your bedroom door. The hallway is empty, but a camera turns half a centimeter. You stand still. The camera stands still. You go back to your bed. You mentally note the time. You fall asleep with the certainty that someone noted the same thing. Starting the second day, the island begins to show its true map, not with signs, but with absences. There are zones where staff doesn't enter without being called. There are hallways that get cleaned too quickly, as if they were allergic to footprints. There are guests who disappear for hours and return with tense smiles, like someone who just signed something important, or something irreversible. In a logistics meeting, the host mentions in passing, the archive. Nobody asks what archive. Nobody needs to ask. At the table, a lawyer clears his throat and changes the subject to wines. You understand the choreography. Certain words aren't touched. You start doing your thing, observing patterns. You write down names, schedules, habits. The host, doesn't move without two discreet men and a woman who seems like an assistant, but commands more than everyone. Important guests receive different bracelets. They don't say it, but it's a permission system. Some accesses only open when certain bracelets are nearby. You notice because the reader blinks differently when you pass. The third day, there's a nighttime beach party. Bonfires, soft music, expensive drinks, the moon doing its job of covering up. You force yourself to drink slowly. You force yourself to laugh at the right moments. You force yourself to be nobody. Halfway through the party, a businessman takes you by the shoulder and whispers, "Here everyone comes for something, money, favors, silence, or fear. You, why do you come?" His breath smells like whiskey and desperation. You respond with a disguised truth, work. He laughs and tells you, everyone does. And he leaves as if he'd just given you advice or a threat. Later, you see the host talking with a famous musician. They laugh, they hug, they take a photo. Then the musician gets serious, listens to something, nods, and leaves without saying goodbye to anyone. You follow him with your eyes until he disappears behind an unlabeled door. After 10 minutes, the same door opens. Only the host comes out, adjusting his watch. He smiles. He looks at the sea as if nothing happened. That night, you don't sleep. You wait for the staff's routine. At 4:40, a laundry cart crosses the hallway. The kid pushing it doesn't have a sleepy face. He has a face of resignation. When he passes in front of your door, the cart makes a hollow metallic sound. Inside are black bags. It's not clothes. It's not sheets. It doesn't smell like soap. It smells like chlorine. The next day, you find on your desk an unsigned note. Remember, here we appreciate discretion. The handwriting is perfect. It doesn't seem handwritten. It seems printed by a person. From there, everything escalates with the brutal delicacy of a spiderweb closing in. They assign you tasks closer to the core, coordinating private flights, managing last-minute changes, making calls with short phrases and no names. You learn the dictionary. Special guests means people who don't appear on lists. Maintenance means hours when certain zones are blocked. Private meeting means someone's going to come out different from how they went in. On a rainy afternoon, the administrator takes you to a server room. So you understand why we ask for digital silence, he says. The room is cold, clean, full of green lights. There are racks, discs, cables. He shows you screens with cameras from all over the island. They're not normal security cameras. They're eyes. In every corner, in every hallway, on every terrace. He tells you, this protects us. You think, This controls us. On one of the screens, you see an elegant room with people conversing. On another, a hallway with a metal door. On another, the kitchen. All normal. Until for a second, in a corner of the wall, a small box appears with an image that shouldn't be there. A room without windows, a chair, a table, lights too white. There's nobody. But the framing is fixed, as if it's always waiting for someone. You blink. The box disappears. The administrator keeps talking about firewalls. Oh, you say nothing. You learn the art of not existing. That night, at dinner, the host makes a toast to the friends who help keep the world clean. The phrase is so cynical you feel like laughing through your nose. Everyone applauds. A banker says, "Cheers." You say, "Cheers." And you taste something metallic that doesn't come from the wine. You begin to notice that some guests arrive tense and leave obedient, that they arrive with ego and leave with caution, that they arrive speaking loud and the next day speak softly. The island doesn't buy loyalty, it manufactures it. And you're seeing the factory from the inside. Your agency wants proof. Not impressions, not intuitions, proof. And there's the problem. On the island, they don't leave evidence. They leave dependency. Evidence lives in other people's hands, in devices you can't touch. Why? In conversations that happen 2 meters from cameras you don't control. You try to build an exit. You approach a bar employee, an older woman who's seen too many seasons of rich people. You ask her calmly if everything's okay. She looks at you as if you'd said a forbidden word. "Everything's fine here," she responds. Then she adds without moving her lips, "You're not the first." And she leaves. The 5th day, they invite you to a sponsors meeting in a private room. There's a contract on the table. They don't call it a contract. They call it a commitment. It's a large donation to a foundation with an impeccable name. But the clauses are strange. Absolute confidentiality, arbitration in remote jurisdictions, ridiculous penalties for reputational damage. In other words, if you talk, they ruin you. An investor complains, "This is excessive." The lawyer smiles, "It's standard." The host looks at the investor with fake tenderness. "You're not obligated," he says. The investor signs. Nobody forces him. And yet, everyone understands they do. Your assistant, the quiet kid, starts talking to you in code. In the kitchen, he tells you, "Tomorrow there's maintenance in the basement. You didn't know there was a basement." "Where?" you ask. He looks at the floor and responds, "Where there are no windows." He leaves you an extra magnetic key on the edge of your tray covered by a napkin. He trembles slightly. It's the bravest thing you'll see on the entire island. That night, you decide to go down. At 3:03, you leave your room. You walk like someone going for water. The hallways are silent, but the silence has texture. The hum of electricity, the soft click of a sensor, the air conditioning breathing. You reach the elevator with the unmarked button. You swipe the magnetic key. The button appears illuminated as if it had always been there, just waiting for your sin. You go down. The doors open to a polished concrete corridor. There are no paintings, no flowers, no luxury. Here, there's no theater. There's function. You walk and hear your own heart like a badly tuned drum. At the end of the corridor is another door with a reader. You swipe the key. You enter. It's an office, or it seems like one. There are file cabinets. There's a table with a closed laptop. There's a wall with monitors turned off. Everything too clean. In a corner, there's an industrial shredder with bags full of paper confetti. On the table, there's a metal box with a padlock. And on the wall, a framed phrase, like corporate motivation. Loyalty is tranquility. You laugh inside. You want to vomit outside. You open drawers carefully. You find flight lists with codes. You find abbreviated names. You find notes with schedules. It's not enough. It's not proof. It's structure. In a folder, you find something more. Printed photographs, small, like modern Polaroids. They don't show explicit acts. They show contexts. Important people in places where they shouldn't be. Hugs too close, uncomfortable looks, hands on shoulders, doors closing. The island understands the power of almost. Almost is a better weapon than done. Almost leaves everyone in eternal doubt. You put some photos in your jacket. You take a couple of documents. You write down serial numbers. You leave. When you return to the elevator, you're not alone. The administrator is there, leaning against the wall as if he'd been waiting for you for an hour. He smiles. Couldn't sleep? He asks. His voice is honey with glass. You invent a lie in half a second. I was looking for the electrical room. There's a strange buzzing. He nods calmly. How diligent, he says. He looks at your jacket. He looks at your hand. He looks at your throat, swallowing saliva. Here we take great care of energy, he adds, and he lets you pass. You go up. In the hallway, your house phone vibrates. A message. Tomorrow you have breakfast with the host, 9 o'clock. Punctual. It's not an invitation. It's an appointment. That afternoon, your assistant looks for you. He's pale. They saw, he whispers. You and me. You ask what he knows. He doesn't respond. He just hands you a folded paper with an address and a time. Ma, if you want to live, don't stay for tomorrow's party. Your agency doesn't respond. You can't use your normal channels. You're isolated by design. You have to improvise. You walk the island with new eyes. You look for routes, blind spots, schedules. You discover that at 5:30 in the morning, a supply boat leaves. You discover that the captain is one of the few who talks to everyone and doesn't belong to anyone. You discover that freedom here is measured in minutes. Night falls, and the island dresses up again. Music, lights, smiles. People dance as if they don't know the floor is a lid. You act, you move, you laugh, you greet. You store your documents in a false bottom. You improvise with tape and plastic inside your belt. You feel the paper stuck to your skin like a burn. At one point, the host calls you with a gesture. He takes you to a secluded balcony. From there, you can see the black, infinite sea. Beautiful, isn't it? He says. The sea is perfect for forgetting, you answer, or for hiding. He laughs softly. Exactly. He keeps looking at the horizon. Then he says, without looking at you, I'm going to give you some advice. In this world, truth doesn't protect you. It exposes you. What protects is belonging. Pause. Belonging is bought or demonstrated. He finally looks at you. Who do you belong to? That's when you understand your mission isn't to discover, it's to resist. The island doesn't fear investigators. The island turns them into part of the decor or into examples. I belong to the work, you respond. He nods as if he'd approved you. Then let's work, he says. And with a gesture, two men appear. They offer you a sealed envelope. A simple favor, says the host. Take this tomorrow on the supply boat. Deliver to the contact. Nothing more. He smiles at you like someone giving you a gift. You grab the envelope. It weighs too much to be paper. That night, you open the envelope in hiding. Inside is a flash drive. No label. Nothing. You smell it by absurd instinct, as if technology smelled like crime. You keep it. If you deliver it, you become their messenger. If you don't deliver it, you become a problem. Welcome to the professional dilemma. At 4:50, you head to the dock. The staff is still sleeping, but security isn't. Security never sleeps. It just changes posture. You walk with a confident step. Your heart is racing, but your face is at 50. At the dock, the boat captain looks at you. He doesn't ask why you're there. He only asks, name? You say your fake name. He nods. He gestures for you to board. And just as you put your foot on the gangway, you feel a hand on your shoulder. The administrator, smiling. So early, he asks. How diligent. He looks at the boat. He looks at the sea. He looks at your belt. Are you carrying something? You respond. Logistics documents. Itinerary changes. He extends his hand. Give them to me. I'll review them. For security. That moment lasts an eternity of 2 seconds. If you give him the documents, you lose the mission. If you don't give them to him, you lose your life. So you do the only thing you have left. You use truth as a distraction. I need to talk to the captain, you say. There's a storm risk. Route changes. The captain raises an eyebrow. The administrator looks at you. Storm, he repeats. You point at the sky, which is clear. It's a protocol, you improvise. The agency, the insurer. The administrator smiles more. That's bad. I understand, he says. How professional. He lets you board, but he doesn't leave. He stays on the dock, watching. The boat starts. The engine roars like an animal freeing itself. You move away from the island and you don't feel relief. You feel emptiness. Because you know that, even if you arrive, the island has tentacles on land. The sea doesn't cut connections. It just changes the scenery. On the boat, the captain approaches. He speaks low. Here people come to buy silence, he says, and silence always gets charged twice. He looks you in the eyes. First time someone has in days. If you're carrying something, you better not be carrying it alone. You show him the flash drive without taking it all the way out. He nods. I have an old satellite, he says. A 5-minute signal window when we pass a certain point. If you want to send something, it's now or never. With hands that don't belong to you, you connect the flash drive to the captain's laptop. There's no time to review, no time to understand, only time to send. You select what you can. Images, records, lists. You compress it. You launch it through a slow connection like a confession in a bottle. 5 minutes that feel like 5 years. When it's done, you erase traces as best you can. The captain turns off the equipment. Done, he says. Now comes the hard part. Staying alive. You arrive at port. A car without license plates is waiting for you. You didn't order it. Your agency doesn't send cars without license plates. They put you in anyway. Why? Because here, instinct says no, and the body says yes for survival. In the back seat, there's a burner phone. On screen, a message. Good work. Now come back. The host wants to say goodbye. It's not goodbye. It's closure. You look out the window. The city moves normally. People buy bread, argue, live, and you, in your expensive suit, feel like a ghost walking among the living. In your mind, sarcasm becomes a support mechanism. How beautiful the world is when horrible things are hidden with foundations and smiles. How elegant crime is when it smells like expensive perfume. How easy it is to lose faith when lies are served in crystal glasses. You have proof sent, but you don't know if it arrived. You don't know if anyone will receive it or if it will fall into a dead mailbox. You don't know if your agency will be able to act or if someone else, higher up, cleaner on the outside, will make a call to have everything filed away. And the worst part, you know the island will still be there, impeccable, perfect, green, a postcard with teeth. Because you didn't infiltrate an island, you infiltrated a system, and the system doesn't collapse from looking. It collapses when someone dares to break the pact of silence. And pacts, as you'll learn, are made of fear and important people. So here you are, undercover agent, with a successful mission that feels with the certainty that you saw things you shouldn't have without needing to name them, because horror doesn't need detail to be real. With your stomach churning and your smile ready, because tomorrow you might have to put it on again. Welcome to your new job, living knowing and pretending you don't. Period.